This is just a small part of a bigger web, one puzzle piece of many. All information presented in the following video is available on public records, but unfortunately, no one is told to look for it. If we are to make sense of the 2020 US election, there are some key players we need to be aware of. Let me present to you Lord Mark Malloch Brown. In his early 30s, Malloch Brown became heavily involved in public relations and journalism and found himself involved in the 1986 Philippine presidential election. The race would be a difficult one. The incumbent, President Ferdinand E. Marcos, was a tough opponent to beat. Ferdinand's campaign was focused in selected key cities designed to secure a majority vote. The opposing candidate, Cory Aquino, focused her efforts throughout the Philippines, even traveling to remote areas that candidates never really focused on. It is said that at the end of her campaign, 800,000 participants gathered in a rally at Rizal Park, forming a sea of yellow. This was the People Power Revolution. Behind the scenes was Malloch Brown. He had been sent by David Sawyer to advise and teach Cory Aquino to address reporters and appeal to American audiences. The time was tense, and before the election results were known, Malloch Brown advised Cory Aquino to declare herself the winner. Of this time, Malloch Brown recalls, an outstanding accomplishment during the Cory campaign was to produce an exit poll that indicated that she had won. It landed on the front page of the Inquirer and had a profound impact as it planted the idea that Aquino had won over Marcos. Marcos did not really recover after that. It was a very exciting experience to watch. It would not matter if Marcos won the popular vote in the end. What mattered was not the results, but the perceptions of the people. On CBS News, a former US ambassador to the Philippines, William Sullivan, said this: "The facts as they emerge are becoming increasingly irrelevant because it's the perception that prevails both in the Philippines and, I think, internationally, that Mrs. Aquino won the election as far as the polling places were concerned. But the government, in the tabulation, changed the vote counts." After the revolution in the Philippines, Malloch Brown went back to the US and started working closely with multi-billionaire George Soros. From 1993 to 94, Malloch Brown helped to champion the Balkanization projects as a member of the Soros Advisory Committee on Bosnia. He went on to co-found Soros's International Criminal Court after the creation of the International Crisis Group. From 1995 to 99, Malloch Brown acted as the vice president of the World Bank. From The Guardian, under his guidance, the bank blitzed opinion makers with full-page newspaper advertisements and a television campaign to change perceptions of it as an arrogant institution unwilling to heed outsiders. To his credit, the institution gradually gained a reputation as a listening bank, unlike its more aloof sister institution, the International Monetary Fund. Directly after leaving the bank in 1999, he joined the UN as administrator of the United Nations Development Program and led in pursuing Millennium Development Goals and secured funding from the G8 Summit finance ministers to provide for the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the African Development Bank to cancel $40 to $55 billion in debt owed by members of the heavily indebted poor countries. As well, he helped to tie UN funding closely to George Soros's Open Society operations internationally, as he was living on an estate in New York owned by George Soros. Malloch Brown continued his interest in international government affairs, organizing an event with Soros in New York to gather $1.5 million for Georgian reform programs after the Rose Revolution. His interests also lay in American politics, most especially during the Obama administration. Of the relationship between Obama and Malloch Brown, Samantha Power said this: "The principal conduit between Britain and the candidate Obama has been Lord Malloch Brown, the junior foreign minister whom Obama came to admire when Malloch Brown was Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. Obama was really taken with him. It's a relationship that has persisted, and they have talked a number of times since." Lord Malloch continued to participate in programs backed by Soros and helped shape national perceptions of disputing parties through reports released by the International Crisis Group. His career always focused on influencing public perceptions. In the following clip, you will see an example of this.
You did unequivocally point out here that Smartmatic has never been a Venezuelan company, but correct me if I'm wrong, the chairman that had preceded you was a Venezuelan, and in fact, allegedly, Smartmatic had ties with the late former president of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez. How do you explain all of that?
Well, you know, I think the big word is allegedly. The former chairman, who is still CEO, so still very involved in the business, leads it in fact, you know, was a resident of Florida when these systems were designed. The company has never been a Venezuelan company. Hugo Chavez has never had a single share in the company.
Following his life passions, Lord Mark Malloch Brown was chosen to head SGO Corporation Limited in 2014. This holding company's main asset is Smartmatic voting technologies, which has been subject to government and public scrutiny and was used during the election of Hugo Chavez. In this position, Malloch Brown found himself in the familiar world of elections and perceptions, governments, and political power. He has been critical of President Trump, and in response to a question that was given to him on the perception of global governance, he stated, "Now, the winter is back, because, you know, in many of our countries there is a very determined minority, in some cases a minority that's now in power, that finds international organizations in their association with globalization, you know, the complete antithesis of the kind of much more nationalistic, bilateralized foreign policy they aspire to. So the UN, with its multilateral solutions, is a kind of cultural enemy." The story of Malloch Brown does not stop there, though. Despite the challenges that Trump has faced the United Nations and members interested in increasingly tied international affairs, Malloch Brown remains hopeful in achieving his vision for the world. On December 4th, 2020, George Soros sent out a tweet. "I applaud Patrick Gaspard's leadership of the Open Society Foundations in a world beset by illiberalism. Mark Malloch Brown will be Open Society's new president. He is deeply familiar with its work and shares my vision of philanthropy." Malloch Brown will take over effective January 1st, 2021. Chairman of Smartmatic and president of the Open Society, it seems that Malloch Brown has found himself at home. Between his experiences in influencing the 1986 Philippine presidential election and directing funding for special interest groups, you might look at his life and come away with a conclusion that maybe he trained for this. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. It took a lot of time and effort to put this together, but I hope that you enjoyed the presentation and the information that was provided to you today. I have a couple more videos like this that are coming out this week. It's going to be sort of an expose or more of a look into these people's lives who are behind some pretty big corporations that we need to be aware of. In the end, the plan is to tie all of this into Dominion voting systems and how they played a part in our presidential election. But for now, it's a matter of putting the puzzle pieces together so that in the end, I can tie in the full picture. Now, if you want to support my work, there are a couple of ways that you can do that. You can go to my Patreon. You can also directly donate to me through my PayPal. Also, if you want to see more content like this directed to your inbox, please subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, share it with others if it was valuable to you, and I hope you did come away from this learning something new. My name is Addison Tweedy, and I'm always seeking to bring truth and light to others. And this has been Tweedy's Take. I will see you next time tomorrow. Yubasia.